Hi everyone, I'm Mithma and I will be talking you through the security outlook for Papua New Guinea. So the country faces significant security challenges, and this is often driven by tribal violence, political instability, and pervasive crime. On the other hand, we have a somewhat unstable political environment with Prime Minister James Marape, who, despite political turbulence, continues to lead a fragile government. So, with inputs from both Raga and Uday, I hope to talk about the the exacerbating tribal violence in the highlands. This is especially prevalent in Enga, Hela, and the southern highlands provinces. These areas are mostly at the epicenter of tribal conflicts, and this is often linked to land resources as well as election disputes. So, Raga, do you have anything to add on the ongoing tribal violence in this region?
Yes, Mitma. So, in terms of tribal violence in the highlands, that has been an issue for many years. And there's a lot of rivalries from many generations which are quite entrenched in terms of uh, daily confrontations and which escalate quite quickly into clashes. So areas like Enga, for example, Enga province end up having a state of emergency for a couple of months just to curtail the violence and bring it down. And the sorry state of the resources that are actually allocated to the security forces are part of the reason why it is quite difficult to contain the violence from spreading. Uh, it's just the reality that in PNG, in terms of resource allocation, budgetary allocation for the local level police forces as well as the security forces, it is quite low, and there is an under-resourced uh, problem for the security in PNG. So this sort of tribal violence is likely to continue in the highlands, especially due to entrenched tribal rivalries.
Yes, that is very true, Raga. Now, I want to move on a little bit to the security challenges in the capital, Port Moresby. Now, this area is also a very high-risk region. We have a lot of gang violence, armed robberies, as well as kidnappings happening. There's also some organized gangs, which are known as rascals, that dominate settlements like Gordon's and Erima, and they often commit robberies and carry out extortions. Kidnappings for ransom and armed robberies, which often target expatriates as well as affluent locals, have become a growing threat, and this is especially concerning after dark. So, what are your thoughts on these challenges for especially business community members in the region?
So Mitma, you brought up a really good point, about the risk of violence towards foreigners. I think these risks have increased in the country, not only in urban centers, but also in the highlands and rural areas. The risks of just being a foreigner, because the government has, in the past, we found out that they have paid ransoms for kidnappings. I think there was a case earlier this year in which an Australian or a New Zealand national was kidnapped, and they paid a ransom for that person to the kidnappers. So given the problems of under-resourcing in the security forces that Raga you were just talking about, and given, the high level of activity by these rascals and criminal elements that Midma was just describing, I'd say like overall the threat, not only to foreigners but to locals, but especially to foreigners because of perceptions of wealth, is quite high um in the country. Raga, Mitma, would you have anything to add there or contradict?
Just a point here. So in Port Moresby, now this is the capital of the country, and you would expect that in terms of security forces, more of a there is more resources deployed, and they have enough control over the situation. But that hasn't necessarily been the case, because we did see an instance during the Black Wednesday situation where
Yep.
there was riots that escalated from a strike, which the security forces were on a strike, and within a few hours, you're seeing rioters on the streets, criminal gangs resorting to vandalism, arson, looting, and killings, which extended for a couple of days. So really, if James Marape-led government is trying to push for a PNG as a business destination, when the capital is set on fire in a matter of a few hours, that is quite concerning for businesses. So there seems to be structural issues as well, from the government to coordination with the security forces to the military and the local level units, because a situation like this could not have developed had there been smoother coordination in the capital.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point there, Raga. So I'm going to use that to sort of talk about the governance of the country and the political stability as well. Now, the Prime Minister has faced numerous motions of no confidence. I think this year itself, he has faced around three. However, he has maintained power due to his coalition Pangu Party's resilience. And but we see that this is a continuing issue that seems to pop up every few months. And in the administration, corruption remains a major issue in the country as well. And this has undermined public trust and weakened government institutions. Do you see that changing in the coming few months, especially for 2025?
So, in terms of governance, somehow Mr. James Marape has managed to evade a lot of these motions of no confidence and these attempts by the opposition forces to somehow manage to get him to resign or at least replace the government. So there is a back and forth, it seems, between the government and the opposition forces. It's just that Marape seems to have very strong line of control within his own party members, such that even if they were jumping ship, he is managing to pull back other members from the opposition into his party. So this has been kind of a chess move that's going on. It's not good for governance. It's not very promising for just political stability, business stability outlook, but it seems that Mr. Marape has figured a way to survive in this political game of chess.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out there, Raga. So, um, Uday, do you have anything to add about any drivers of unrest or the outlook for the country?
Um, Nothing specific that we haven't covered already, Mitma. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much. So overall, I feel like Papua New Guinea is going to continue to face this complex security situation, and tribal violence, urban crime, and political instability is likely to continue. And Prime Minister Marape's leadership will also be tested by the continuing corruption, resource disputes, and the high crime rates in the country. So going into 2025, the overall security environment is unlikely to change.